Good morning. Good morning, Rabotai. Welcome back to Breakfast in the Class. Breakfast in the Class and learning for this week is dedicated by the Torah Center Silver donors, Oren and Alexa Altmark. In loving memory of the Nishmat of Oren's grandfather, David Holland, David Ben, Rivka Leah, Alav Shalom, for his first yahrzeit, Monday, March 17th. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Also, dedicated in loving memory of the Nishmat, Ruth Orfali Bat Adela, sponsored by her family. Also, Be'ezat Hashem, for a complete and speedy refuah shlema, and dedicated for the continued health of Chanabat Simafega, Be'ezat Hashem. Dedicated in loving memory of their beloved father, Salomon Sion, Lunishmat Shlomo Yosef Ben Regina for his Askara, sponsored by Laura and Mauricio Sion. Also dedicated today on his Hebrew birthday by my brother David Farhi. It should be Be'ezat Hashem, a zechut for a year of unbelievable hatzlacha, of success, ta'at ha'upa, inshallah. Be'ezat Hashem, all of his prayers should be answered bekarov mamash. Let us begin. So, I want to share with you a couple different concepts today. The pasuk says, and Moshe gathered the people, Vayomer alehem, and he said to them, these are the things that God commanded to do. 6 days your work should be done. Yom HaShvi'i, and the seventh day, Yeh Lachem Kodesh, should be holy for you. Shabbat Shabbaton Lamonai, should be a day of Shabbat v'Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Now, it's an interesting thing, because the Chachamim want to know, says the Oil Moshe, if the Torah asks you to keep Shabbat, that's one thing, because that's what it's asking you to do. But what is the mitzvah, what does the Torah, start this pasuk about keeping Shabbat by saying, Sheshet Yamim Ta'aseh Melacha. Let's say a guy doesn't want to work during the week. There's no obligation that he has to work. There's no mitzvah that he has to work during the week. As an example, let's say a guy, he inherits big Yerusha. Guy doesn't need to work for the rest of his life. There's a mitzvah, Sheshet Yamim Ta'aseh Melacha. No. So just tell me that this is what it is, that you have to rest on Shabbat. Why are you telling me about the 6 days when all you really want to talk to me about is the seventh day? Sorry? What else does it say me?
You could be doing driving your car. You're separating Shabbat from the whole. That's
yeah. So any melacha is part of it, right? So even still, but again, there's no mitzvah to drive your car. So the question remains, right? So the question is, that's question number one. So he starts by explaining something very interesting. The Chafetz Chaim once found a guy in this town he went to visit, and the guy had his factory. The factory was open, and it was working on Shabbat. Anyway, the Chafetz Chaim goes to the factory, and he says, "Excuse me, I need to talk to you for a minute. I see that the factory is open. I know that you're Jewish. You can't have a factory operating Shabbat. It's asur. Don't you know what the Torah says?" Anyway, the guy says, "Listen, I'm making a killing over here in my factory. I'm making 4,000 rubles, a day. You think you want me to walk away from 4,000 rubles? Right? It's a fortune of money." The Chafetz Chaim says, I don't know what your question is. He says, and if it's 4,000 rubles, the pasuk says, Sheshet Yamim Ta'aseh Melacha. 6 days your work should be done, right? And on the seventh day, you should rest for Shabbat. Why is the Torah telling you about the 6 days? Because if you keep Shabbat, then you have work for the 6 days. But if you don't keep Shabbat, then the work of the 6 days also goes away. So you're asking me about the 4,000 rubles you're going to lose from closing on Shabbat. I'm telling you that if you don't close on Shabbat, you're not going to have the 4,000 rubles of the other 6 days. You're going to lose 24. You're telling me you're going to lose 4. I'm telling you if you don't close, you're going to lose 24. Plus the 4, which is 28. The guy looks at the rabbi and he starts laughing. He says, "Rabbi, you think a pasuk in the Torah is going to shut my factory?" I have to tell you, I met a lot of people who were very big wise guys when the rabbi said something. only to find out afterwards that not every wise guy is such a wise guy. It was a short period after that the Bolsheviks spread through Russia. They took the guy's factory, they threw him out on the street. A short while later, he sees the Chafetz Chaim, he says, you tried to tell me, but I didn't listen. He said, and now I have nothing. From a pasuk in the Torah, I have nothing. So the simple understanding of the pasuk is, Sheshet Yamim Te'aseh Melacha, 6 days you'll have work. You know what the condition is? The condition for your 6 days of blessing is, Ubayom HaShiv'i Yeh Lachem Kodesh. You'll have that day as a day that's set aside for Shabbat. That's what the Chafetz Chaim was teaching us. However, I want to maybe extend this idea, says the Oil Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu gathers the people and he's going to tell them about the conditions of building the Mishkan. He's going to tell them that he needs all the various items that were discussed in Terumah and in Tetzaveh. Says Oil Moshe, beautiful. If I come and I ask you for money, I ask you for tzedakah, a person might think, tzedakah, it's hard for me to give. I was approached by this guy, I was approached by that guy. This money, I worked very hard for it. Why should I give it away? A person who struggles with giving tzedakah is a person who believes that all the money that he has is his. And he made that money by how hard he's working. You want to know the antidote to being a person who's stingy with their money? The antidote to stinginess, to greediness, is Shabbat. So Moshe says, before I can ask you to build a Mishkan, I need to remind you, the way this work thing, how it pans out, it's not the way you think. Not everything that's in your pocket is yours. So much of what came to you is something that God blessed you with. And why did he bless you with it? So you'd be able to give to those around you. So before he asks them for tzedakah, he reminds them of Shabbat, that what God gives you is what God gave you, not what you made, not what you hustled for. Of course, a person needs to put in effort, but ultimately, whether that effort will succeed or not is only in the hands of Borei Olam. He explains, therefore, that's what the Gemara means. The Gemara says that if a person is unwilling to give tzedakah, kol ha'ma'alim einav min tzedakah, you turn your eyes away from giving tzedakah, ki'ilu oved avodah zarah. That's what the Gemara says. It's as if you worship idols. Menen loen. Because I don't want to give this guy $10 means I worshipped idols. The answer is, if you truly believed that it was Borei Olam that gives everything in this world, why would you hold back from giving tzedakah? Whatever you give to somebody else is not going to come out of your pocket. It's coming out of God's pocket. That's what it's coming from Him. Hashem, the eyes of everyone is talui in you. Right? To give them, whatever they are getting, who's it coming from? It's coming from you. When I give something to somebody who needs something, that's not coming from me. That's not coming out of my paycheck. That's not coming out of my bottom line. And if I believe that it is, you turn your eyes away from tzedakah. It's as if you're worshiping avodah zarah. It's as if you believe that your money is not coming from Borei Olam. Fascinating. Baruch atah. Please only answer amen if you're listening to this live. Baruch atah Adonai melech haolam she'akol nהיה baro. Let me share with you a magnificent concept that is shared in the Sefer HaPiryon, written by the Mahaber of the Sefer Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, Rav Gansfried. Listen to this. Unbelievable. You have people who feel that the harder they work, the more money they'll make. And that's, for them, the truth. That's what the truth looks like. Harder I work, the more money I'll make. Now the truth is, I know a lot of people who are back-breaking work. all day, non-stop. And they could barely put food on the table. They can't pay tuition. They can't do anything nice for their family just to pay the bills. I know a lot of people like that. You have some guy, what happens? His friend says to him, I'm going in on this deal. Do you want to come in? The guy scrapes together a few dollars from this one, from that one, and his bar mitzvah money. Next thing you know, the deal cashes in a zillion times over. Had that for no work. You have a guy who's in real estate. He does one deal a year. The rest of the year, he's drinking coffee, right? The guy sold 2 buildings. That's it. Yeah, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Who decides if your work is going to be in that way? Who decides if after you made a sale like that, after you made the sale, if the interest rate doesn't spike on your mortgage, so after you made all that profit, you gave all that profit right back? Who's to decide if the tax law doesn't change? After you made it, after you already counted the zeros, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I write zeros at the end of the check, not you. And if you think it's you, no problem. I'm going to make you the master of zero. My friends, Sheshet Yamin Te'aseh Melacha, says the Sefer HaPiryon, unbelievable. It doesn't say Sheshet Yamim Ta'aseh Melacha. 6 days you should do work. It says Sheshet Yamim Te'aseh. Te'aseh means your work shall be done. Ultimately, in this world, we have to find a lane. We have to put in our ishtadlut and make our effort. But once our effort is in, more effort is not going to mean more profit. That's a hard thing for a human being to wrap their head around, because we live in a physical world and we think that that's how it works. Says the Chafetz Chaim, an unbelievable mashal. I want everyone to think of this mashal, but I want you to visualize it in your mind, because this mashal is the greatest gift that a person could have to be able to fall back on in difficult times. Says the Chafetz Chaim, imagine a person who has a barrel, and in his barrel, the barrel's filled with water. And the guy is pouring himself water from this barrel, and he feels unbelievable. Wow, look how much water I have. Imagine the guy comes to his wife, and he says, honey, I just figured out a great, beautiful, amazing trick. It's so simple. Can't believe I never thought of it before. So I said, what's the trick? She says, every time I take the barrel, I drag it outside, fill it with rainwater, fill it with water from the well. We run out of water. I had a great idea. I'm going to double our output. She says, how are you going to double the output? He says, I went to Home Depot. I brought another spigot, another faucet. I attached a second faucet to the bottom of the barrel. Now we're going to get double the amount of water. Look at how easy it was. I can't believe I never thought of it. His wife said to him, Tipesh, fool, moron, dib. She had a lot of words for him. She said, if you added another faucet at the bottom, you're just emptying the water faster. There's not more water. But such is the nature of a person who thinks that adding more work will mean more parnasah. What God wants to give you, He will give you. Hashtadlut, 1,000%. A person needs to put it in. But when a person won't come home, when a person is robbing his time from his learning, robbing his time from his family, robbing his time from his chesed, robbing his time from volunteering for the community, and you think, I'm going to put in more hours, and that's going to make me more, all you're doing is installing another sink on the same barrel. You didn't add one drop of parnasah. Now we understand what Moshe Rabbeinu was saying. He was telling them, Sheshet Yamim Te'aseh Melacha. 6 days in the week, your work will be done. And how does that happen? It happens because a person understands that on the 7th day it will be Kodesh. Because the 7th day reminds you that the ultimate creator, both of the world and your bottom line and your parnasah, is who? Not Shlomo Farhi, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So in order to remind you of that for your work week, we connected your 6 days of work to the mitzvah of Shabbat. My friends, let me add the words of the holy Or HaHayim HaKadosh in last week's parasha. Last week we read the famous beginning that we say to the Kiddush. We say it Friday night. V'shamru Bnei Yisrael et Shabbat, la'asot et Shabbat ledorotam b'rit olam. Asks the Or HaHayim, what does it mean? La'asot et Shabbat. You want to tell me V'shamiru Bnei Yisrael, that the Jewish people guarded Shabbat, that they kept Shabbat, fine. But to tell me that the Jewish people la'asot made Shabbat? Who makes Shabbat? God made Shabbat. What does it mean that a Jew makes Shabbat? He has many different answers. Many. I'll give you one interesting answer that he has. He says, there's an interesting halakha. If a person gets lost in the desert and he doesn't know as he's traveling in the desert what day it is of the week, so when does he keep Shabbat? The halakha is he counts 7 days from that point, and whatever day that is, he keeps it as Shabbat. That's halakha. So the Or HaHayim says, beautiful. That seventh day, which, by the way, if you had a calendar, we'd realize is actually Wednesday. That seventh day, that Shabbat, is not really Shabbat. God created Shabbat. But this day, Wednesday, which you don't know what day Shabbat is, that you're celebrating it as Shabbat, who made that day Shabbat? You did. La'asot et Shabbat, says the Or HaHayim HaKadosh. Fascinating. A second interpretation. Shabbat is from when? From sunset until stars out. That's the law of Shabbat. But we know there's a mitzvah to be mosif al Shabbat, to add on Shabbat before Shabbat comes in. There's a mitzvah also not to run out of Shabbat, but to take your time, add an extra couple minutes. Hamimaharim Hamaharim latzet min Shabbat umimaharim lavo. We say in one of the songs of Shabbat, those who extend, they're not running to leave Shabbat so fast, and they want to get into Shabbat a little bit early. They're making Kiddush, accepting Shabbat before, etc., etc. Those extra minutes of Shabbat, are you obligated by Torah law to have them? No. So who made those minutes Shabbat? La'asot. Says the Or HaHayim, eventually, all the minutes add up. You have a Shabbat that you made, not God, you. Beautiful pirush from the Or HaHayim. But my friends, I want to add one more piece to this La'asot et Shabbat. Gemara tells us about Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel. Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel had different ways of thinking of Shabbat the whole week. About the way that they would purchase something for Shabbat. One of them would go and buy something on Wednesday, on Tuesday, he'll buy something, he would say, I'm buying this piece of meat for Shabbat. Other one will buy something, then they saw another nicer one, they swapped that one and ate that on Monday. In other words, on Sunday they bought a steak for Shabbat. On Monday, they went to the butcher, they saw a nicer steak. What'd they do? They used Sunday's steak for dinner, and now they made Monday's steak for Shabbat. What happened? That meant that the whole week, what was Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel doing? Either they were buying a nice steak, delicious hummus, they were getting the thing. You got to get to some stores, they sell out of the good salads, of the nice items. You can't get it on Friday. Turns out the person the whole week, where is he living? He's living with Shabbat on Sunday, on Tuesday, on Thursday. Every day, it's not its own day. It's not Yom Echad. It's Yom Rishon, Yom Sheni, counting towards the day of Shabbat. So a person could live the whole week by preparing for Shabbat. But my friends, I'd like to say that according to what we learned today from the Hafetz Chaim, according to what we were taught today in the Oil Moshe, in the name of the Apirion of Rav Gansfried, we're learning something completely different. It's not only Bet Shammai, Bet Hillel that live with a Shabbat during the week. It's me and it's you. You see, when you gave tzedakah to the person on the way out, even though you already gave tzedakah to somebody before, Even though you already finished your maaser, if you said to yourself, it's coming from Hashem anyway. My friends, if you sat in a meeting and somebody took something and your partner said to you, can't believe it, terrible, we lost this, what do you say? Kapara. Look, it's not meant to be. If God wanted to give it to us, He would have given it to us. You're in the middle of the workday week. You're on a Wednesday afternoon. But my friends, in that boardroom, what day is it? It's Shabbat. It's Sheshet Yamim Te'aseh Melacha. The work that I do, I just have to dial in the amount of work that I'm responsible to show. I believe that Parnassah comes from Him, and no matter how many sinks and faucets I put on the same barrel, I'm getting the same amount of water in the end. So when I give tzedakah that way, and I'm not stingy, what day is it when I give that tzedakah? No matter what day of the week it is, it's Shabbat. In the boardroom, it's Shabbat. When I leave and I say to my partners, I'm sorry, I have a school play for my children. And the guy says, what do you mean? We have the You say, listen, I got to be there for my kids. I can't spend my whole life locked in the office. These are important dates. My son has a siyum. My daughter has a play. My wife has an important thing. And I leave the office and I rely on my emunah. And I say, I'm supposed to do the right thing. What day is it in that minute? That is the day of Shabbat. And that's also an answer to the question of the Orah Hayim HaKadosh. It's true that God made Shabbat, but God made Shabbat on the 7th day of the week. Who can make Shabbat on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Me and you. So in tzedakah is Shabbat. In emunah is Shabbat. In giving the gifts of the field to the poor, Shabbat. What is Shemitah? When I could let my land lie for an entire year and not harvest the fruits for profit. What is that? What does the Pasuk call it? Shabbat, Shabbaton. You have a year, and the whole year is Shabbat. It doesn't mean that I can't drive a car in Shemitah. But I'm living with the Kedusha, with the Emunah, with the sanctification, with the taste of Shabbat. Truly, To'ameha Haim Zahu. Those who have tasted it, they have tasted the taste of life itself. My friends, a person who doesn't have Shabbat in their life doesn't have their life. To'ameha Chaim Zachu. I always say, what it means is not if you tasted Shabbat, you merited life when you tasted it. No. To'ameha, if you tasted Shabbat, Chaim Zachu, the rest of your life you were zocheh to. Because a person who doesn't have the taste of Shabbat, they can never stop working. A person who doesn't have the taste of Shabbat looks at someone else, what they have, and he's so jealous. Why don't I have it? Eats him alive, he can't live. The guy has a bigger house, a nicer pool, this one's on this vacation. He can't look at Instagram, at social media. He's jealous all the time. He's running after the Joneses. That guy is a guy who has not tasted Shabbat, and it's robbed him of his whole life. To'ameha Chaim Zachu. My friends, Moshe gave the Jews an invitation. He says, I want to build the Beit HaMikdash. Help me. Remember, Sheshet Yamim Te'aseh Melacha. My friends, we have this new thing in our generation. It's called AI. And AI, a lot of people are very scared of it, and maybe some people should be. But AI means artificial intelligence. And this artificial intelligence, what does it do? It can do a lot of things. It used to be that it would take you 3 hours to write a response to a business email. Now, you feed it into the AI, here's the thing, write me 4 responses, you choose the best one, you send it, the whole email took you 10 seconds to write. Amazing, that's what AI can do. It could do a lot of other things. I don't know if anybody saw, I posted this yesterday. I thought it was absolutely mind-blowing. I took my class yesterday. I got the transcript that AI gave me from YouTube. So there's a transcript, the write-up of the whole class. Every word that I say, it writes out. I took all of that, I stuck it into ChatGPT. I asked AI, I said, please summarize this class. After I summarized the class in 2 seconds flat, I said, turn this into a song. It wrote me a song. I took the song that it wrote. I said, describe how the song should sound if I want it to be a hit. It wrote me a whole description. I took the song. I pasted it into an app, an AI songwriting app. And then I told the app how to make the song sound. Within 2 minutes, or maybe 8 minutes, so the whole thing maybe took me 10 minutes. I have 2 songs, sung, music, arranged, beat, everything. I put it up yesterday, just so people should understand. AI. Now, if you use AI as a tool for you, it can make your life very easy. Ask AI as an example for 50 ideas for your 4-year-old's birthday party. Like that. Ask it to write you a business plan. Like that. Now you have to check it, but it's an unbelievable tool. How much of your work can AI do for you? How much of your work can AI save you? My friends, everybody's talking about how much work AI will save us. But the Torah is telling us, if a person has emunah, how much work can Amunai, Amon, AI. How much work can he save us? Sheshet yamim te'aseh melacha. Your work will be done for you. With one condition, that on the 7th day, it should be Kodesh. It should be holy. You should recognize from where it comes. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen ve'amen. Rabbi Chananya ben Akashya Omer. רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא, זכות ישראל לפי כך בעד היום שנאמר, איך בעצם צדקו, ידי תורה וידי